And so as we see this popular uprising in Egypt, in Algeria, in Yemen, some of the things that Naveen is talking about are absolutely critical to what's going on.
So the internet is not a neutral tool, and I can't talk about every single rule that governs the internet because I'm a political scientist and not a technician, but it's not a neutral medium.
Naveen also knows I have slight disagreements with some of her conclusions. This is, as she's alluded to, this is a very complex story, and I thought this was a part of the story that needs to be told. The point is that it played a really important role at a number of these strategic points at the global level. And I think I agree with the assertion that this process reinforced an authoritarian government. No question about that. But the subtlety is the other side of the coin, which is that leadership role that they also played.
It's a very complex story. But what we hear usually in the media is, oh, information technology brings freedom. And, you know, we have been buying into that narrative for just way too long. And so what's necessary is to really look at the complexity of the picture.
Internet infrastructure is positively correlated with quality of life measured like GDP per capita, among other indicators for quality of life.
Now I present the other side, and I'm not negating that the positive side is negligible. I'm not saying that, but it has two sides to it, and we need to be aware of that thing. The internet affects the way we lead our lives, and therefore you just have to have a discussion of how you use these technologies, not whether you use them or not use them. I'm not saying let's disconnect people from the internet. I'm saying let's bring everybody on board and allow them a voice in decisions. Right of third world citizens to participate either directly or indirectly through representatives was undermined because a lot of decisions, for example, on telecommunications ownership, were made by the Europeans, by the Americans.
Now, when you talk about the place where the rules are being made and so forth, the place where that is made is in the World Trade Organization on the Agreement on Basic Telecommunications. And I don't know what Egypt did.
Agenda setting is tremendously important for figuring out what the outcome will be later. And that happened in...
Right, but that's the kind of sophistication I think that's important. I mean, you had state-owned monopolies around the world that went through a process of liberalization and privatization. On the one hand, they were encouraged to do so under the auspices of moving towards an information society. So the idea was, if you wanted your country to benefit from an information society, you needed to liberalize the market, privatize state-owned operator. That wasn't just in Egypt, it was across the world that was happening.
Communications was a monopoly of the state. So this kind of whole transformation to the private sector is not a kind of a neutral one because of the preceding stage in which the state monopolizes all communication, which is not just a business decision, of course, it's a political decision.
It was at the WTO that this takes place, and so then you come into politics about how do you operate and negotiate within the WTO.
The trickier question is, how do you make sure that Egyptians can participate in global rulemaking processes as equal?
So what Naveen's work does is it really talks about some of these internal economic forces that are sort of fighting it out.